let's talk about the time Red Bull's most famous slogan, you know the one, ended up costing them a whopping $13 million. Yeah, this is the story of a promise that got broken.
You've heard it a million times, right? Red Bull gives you wings. It's been plastered on everything from race cars to daredevil space jumps. It's more than just a slogan. It's become this global shorthand for energy, for adventure, for peak performance.
But what if it doesn't? What happens when you've been drinking it for years and, well, no wings? You can't fly, you can't levitate. And that simple, kind of funny question is exactly what sparked a massive legal battle. Now, the story you've probably heard, the one that became a bit of an internet joke, is that some guy sued Red Bull because he was genuinely upset that he didn't sprout a pair of feathers. It sounds ridiculous, right? But here's the thing. That's not actually what happened. The real story is so much better. See, the truth is, this case was never, ever about literal wings. It was about something much more fundamental to advertising, a promise. So it's time to meet the man who decided to hold Red Bull accountable for theirs. This is him. This is our guy, Benjamin Careathers. He's not some cartoon character expecting to take flight. He's just a regular person, a regular consumer who took on one of the biggest beverage companies in the world. And this part is absolutely key to the whole story. Benjamin wasn't someone who just tried a can once. No, he was a loyal customer for more than a decade. His entire legal argument was built on the idea that he, as a longtime consumer, had believed the company's marketing for years. Okay, so if he wasn't sitting by the window waiting for his wings to come in, what was he actually arguing about in court? What was the real problem hidden inside that famous slogan? The whole lawsuit really boils down to this fascinating, high-stakes collision between two very specific concepts in advertising law. It's a battle between something called puffery and a claim of utility. And trust me, this is where it gets really interesting. This breaks down the legal fight perfectly. On one side, you have puffery. That's the harmless, over-the-top sales talk that everyone knows is an exaggeration. On the other side, you've got a claim of utility. And that's a specific, measurable promise about what a product can do. The lawsuit's whole argument was that Red Bull gives you wings had crossed the line from one to the other. Let's dig into puffery for a second. It's actually a protected legal concept. It's the language of hype, you know? When a diner says they have the world's best coffee, you don't sue them because you think your coffee at home is better. It's understood to be a fun, subjective opinion, not a scientific fact. A claim of utility, though, that's a completely different animal. This is when a company is saying their product does something. It provides a specific, functional benefit that's superior to others. That's not an opinion. That's a promise of performance. And if that promise is false, you can absolutely be held liable for it. And here we have it, the heart of the entire case. The lawyers for Benjamin Careathers argued that "gives you wings" wasn't just a funny slogan. They said it was a direct promise of superior performance, a boost in energy and focus. A boost, they claimed, that was no better than what you could get from a simple, cheap cup of coffee. So, with the legal battle lines drawn, puffery on one side, a functional promise on the other, how did it all end? Well, the outcome was a shocker, and it sent ripples through the entire advertising world. So the case was officially filed. Benjamin Careathers versus Red Bull North America. But it didn't stay as just one man's complaint for long. It quickly ballooned into a massive class action lawsuit, which meant he was now representing millions of other Red Bull drinkers. Now, this is really important. Red Bull, with its army of lawyers, could have fought this thing in court for years. But think about the bad press, the risk of losing in a very public way. It was a huge gamble. So they made a calculated business decision. They chose to settle. And they didn't just settle for a little bit. They settled for a staggering $13 million. That's right, Red Bull agreed to pay that massive sum to make the whole problem go away, all without ever having to go on record and admit their slogan was misleading. So what did that $13 million deal look like? Well, first, Red Bull officially denied any and all wrongdoing. That's pretty standard. But the big thing is they agreed to create a fund to pay back millions of consumers who had bought their drinks. This let them put the whole class action suit to bed and avoid a long, potentially embarrassing public trial. So a lawsuit is settled, some checks are written, and that's the end of it. Right? Not quite. The real, lasting impact of this whole story,
isn't about the money. It's about how it should change the way all of us look at every single ad we see every single day. Because what this case really did was draw a huge line in the sand for the ad industry. It forced everyone to think much more carefully about that blurry area between a funny, harmless slogan and an actual, testable false promise. And here's the biggest takeaway for you. The reason this case from years ago still matters is because it gives you a new tool, a new lens to look through. It empowers you to be a more critical consumer and to question all the claims being thrown at you constantly.
So I'll leave you with this. The next time you see an ad promising to make you smarter, faster, stronger, whatever, will you just see it as clever marketing? Or are you going to stop for a second and ask yourself, is that just puffery? Or is that a promise they might one day have to pay for?